This is Critical Nonsense, our high-lowbrow show about culture, science, and tech. This week, Aaron, Joey, and I think back on all of our wild prognostications from 2022 and revisit where they may or may not have landed.
Woo!
1, 2, 3, 4. Get your Joey on the floor. Gotta get up to pod down. No, this is what a Joey sounds like.
Speechless. This is what an Aaron sounds like in response to that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Beyonce.
And this is what an executive producer and Nostradamus, Jess Vander, sounds like.
Hi, this is Jess. Third time Nostradamus. How are we feeling? Does that mean I'm a super Nostradamus?
It's annual.
It's annual.
It's annual.
Yeah, you're Trustradamus Rex. Does that work? Does that even come close to working?
I'm nothing if not consistent, even
Accurate.
if consistent is consistently awful. And also I'm not that consistent except for being consistently awful. So,
We love you though.
just stay in your lane. That's all. That's what I tell myself.
When the
Just
lane,
be the bad guy.
if the lane is laced in gardenias, then yes, I'm gonna stay in that lane. Shoot.
Okay.
Yeah.
No one has ever compared me to a gardenia, but I will gladly take it.
Joey, you're my favorite chrysanthemum anywhere. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you little scarlet begonia. No housekeeping. It is. Oh, wait. Sorry. There's housekeeping.
Well, New Year, when we're back. Sorry for the
Yeah, sorry.
Hope you had a
We
great
forgot.
time on holiday. we forgot it was happening. So.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed your break from us that we didn't plan for.
Yes.
Because we're good.
Maybe it was nice. Maybe that sort of silence, just not talking. Just like not talking or having to listen to people talking.
Aww.
But it is a new year, which brings us to our annual tradition of today reflecting and returning to our prognogs, and next week making new prognogs. Sorry, Jess is already mad at me. Consistently awful.
It's Wild Prognostications 2022, a year in review. Sorry we're late. But it's happening.
Yes.
We're not late. We waited until the last week to make sure that any of ours came true or not.
Just in case there was something special.
Things could change radically on December 28th.
For those who know what this is, welcome back. For those who don't, each year we take wild guesses on what will come in that year. And today we are going to take a look back at 2022, recap what we predicted, how we think they turned out, and what new questions or thoughts we have coming out of it. Some of them are more compelling than others, so we'll probably focus our attention there. And I think we're going to kick off with Mr. Aaron Powers.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to your event. It is nice to be here and present. So spoiler alert. I was pseudo right. Which I think is a very comfortable and humble place to live in, right? So it appears that out of my prognogs, and I invite Jess in particular and you, Joey, to clarify what I prognogged, because it is January 6th here. The brain is still warming up, and I can't remember everything from last year. I can barely remember stuff from 10 minutes ago. So that's where we're at.
I think you were also in a moment of fear to commit to prognogs last year when we did. You were just like,
yes,
I don't know.
Yeah, telling the future is always fraught. That's the right word.
It could be wrought.
It could be wrought with stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But in any case, it and thankfully, no, not thankfully. Last year was terrible. I hated last year. But the where we are now is looking back on the thoughts that were. So I had one major prognog and then 3 micro prognogs. My major prognog, and I'm not going to spend much time on any one of them. My major prognog was about the low rise gene revival, that like we would be seeing low rises every which way from here to Sunday. And I'll give myself like a right-ish on that one, in that like it really comes down to what do we define as a revival. Like, it happened. It's a trend.
How revived?
It's like if you have a heartbeat every 6 years, you're alive, I suppose, by a metric. Whether or not you constitute a full-blown revival, as we might think about with like a Sutton Foster on Broadway, the Broadway, then I would be wrong and mistaken. So I was right-ish on the fact that low-rise genes did come back, and that the youngins are for some reason making that terrible crotch revealing mistake that many of us went through back in 2003 and slightly earlier to 2001. I'm just saying. Thanks, Brittany. It was terrible.
I just found an article from Vox that said the just in the Google search preview, it says millennials are terrified of the return of low-rise jeans and Y2K fashion. But what if they look different this time around? It makes me think about the fact that we discussed your prognogs are about things that you're terrified of, and this seems to match. And maybe that you're not alone in your fear of the return of low-rise jeans.
And it is like, it was a scary thing. It was the best of times. It was the absolute worst of times. And I do think that like it, I do think that era of body image issues was very unique. I'll put it that way. Like TRL and what people thought was what we should look like. Sure, we still have problems with it now, but it's better now than it was then. And low-rise jeans were they were just the worst of it. It's like, let me be in public and not wear clothes to show off how like emaciated I am. It was just a mess. So anyway,
that there were sub-trends as a product of low-rise jeans, like whale tailing and things like that.
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yes. And I remember...
what is that?
The whale tail was when a thin undergarment, also known as a Cisco, help me out. There it is. Would be showing out of the back of a low-rise jean. Just to show, like, look, I'm wearing it. It's just the top of it. And that was also nicknamed the whale tail.
This is for anybody who lived in a very specific time of cultural material, the John Tucker must die phenomenon.
Yes. Oh my God. I'd forgotten about that movie.
What's interesting about your prognog, and where I think the right-ish is interesting, is in the way that, I guess probably not in a good way, fast fashion and like Shein and things like that have risen. There's also been this increase in sort of thematic fashion based on events or parties or things like that. And so one of those fashion themes that has been present this year is Y2K, right? Like you may have a Y2K party, and it doesn't mean you're like worried that the power is going to go off and that the ball dropping at midnight is going to spark the end of the world. It is specific to like the types of clothes that people were wearing in the late 90s, early 2000s. And so in those instances, people are wearing low-rise jeans and like weird sweaters that only cover your arms and your shoulder blades, like things of that nature.
A tank top?
I was going to say spaghetti strap.
No, because it doesn't cover the front. It doesn't cover the front. It just goes sleeves and across the back.
And then also the spaghetti strap
tops.
The flow. Oh, yes, a shrug. You'd wear the shrug. You might have a bolero. Well, bolero was like all the way up at like 2008, 2009. We were getting into bolero jackets. Look up Jennifer Hudson singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl, and you will know exactly which bolero was the bolero of the moment. But yeah.
Are gaucho pants back?
Not if I was trying to make a joke about Groucho
Gazpacho?
Marx in it. No, I was
Oh.
gonna, but I couldn't get it out. So instead, I'm
Yeah.
explaining my way around it. I hope everyone's laughing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
Mustaches are back, so
I guess
Groucho Marx.
I'll get
mustache.
there when I get a
Hats
beard.
might come
We'll see.
soon after. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
that's where that landed. I'll hit my 3 micros as fast as I introduced them in the previous one, which is that the Hollywood Foreign Press Association would disband. I was wrong. They've even re-upped, and it looks like they're going to be doing a Golden Globe this year to try award ceremony. The question is anyone going to go? It is going to be aired on TV. We'll see. Still think it's trash.
And how drunk will they be?
Yeah, very true. Apparently not as drunk as Don Lemon and Andy Cohen at New Year's. They were boring this year. Boring and still awful. Anyway, number 2.
Not Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper.
Oh, wait. No. So, Don Lemon is always piped in New Orleans because he's always in New Orleans, and usually it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
I mean, he's always boring.
He's
They
always
are.
yep. So the other 2, I'm gonna go out of order. I believe my third one was that like a major metropolitan area will legalize a psychedelic or hallucinogenic. I don't think I was exactly wrong. I'm gonna go with the not yet, and the reason is Oregon. I think it was already approved in Oregon by the time that we started recording. So that just actually they started sale this year, a couple days ago. And then similarly, New York State introduced a bill to decriminalize psychedelics 2 days ago as well. So like, I think it's happening. It's just moving at a slower rate than I expected. And then
DC did as well, but that may have been at the same time as Oregon.
I don't remember. Do you remember? That's just my way of singing my way out of not knowing the answer.
I'll fact check while you do the third.
Thank you. And the third was that the housing market would correct but not crash. And on that one, ladies and gentlemen, I was all right. Nailed it. I would actually say that, there's still plenty of like doom and gloom discussion about like, we're in the midst of or heading toward a crash. That comes up a little bit, but I think that for the sake of what we've been talking about, and even following a lot of the predictions that are coming from different groups now, there is a prediction still in home sales dropping, and that being the case in 2023. But we're not looking at a crash in the ways that we were back in 2008, 9, etc. So I was right, and I'll take it because I'm rarely right. That's not true. I'm right.
Yeah, I would say that one is broadly correct. I don't think it needs to be like you weren't saying like I believe that interest rates will be at
exactly
X% and whatever. It has broadly stabilized as a product of the basis points changes from the Fed, and has not completely collapsed. There are, the TBD, I guess, on where that nets out in terms of if people wind up underwater on mortgages, but it seems less likely there and actually more likely for people to be underwater on cars, actually, based on how that market is starting to restabilize, and people bought cars at $12,000 more than the car was suggested MSRP from the manufacturers, things like that. So I would say you are correct, sir.
Yes. It feels very good hearing it said back. Feels very good. So
where do you net out your like 2.5 of 4? Is that what you said?
I would say that I am a 1 plus 0.5. That's what I would say. No, actually, no. I'm a 2.5. You're right. Because I was right on the low-rise revival. It was just short-lived. I was right on the housing market. I'm just not yet right on the drugs. And I was just wrong on the Hollywood Foreign Press Association.
Right. Too soon. Wrong.
Yep. Put that on a t-shirt. Bing! Yes.
Okay. Jessica, do you want to go?
I am right and wrong. So, again, following the pattern, to start with wrong I had, and maybe what this is a lesson in, is that how specific your prognog is will potentially doom you. And I think my highly specific idea of the return of adult in-person home ec type classes was maybe a little too granular to possibly be the case. It seems so. The thinking was that maybe coming out of the pandemic, that people would want to have more opportunities to be learning the life skills that they suddenly realized they didn't have. Maybe even returning home and being like, wow, this is a dramatic shift into the current lifestyle or the previous lifestyle that I had lived. But I think, and I had talked a bit to some Sylvain folks about this, I think at best what we actually saw was really more just the backswing of people wanting to do things again in person, and any excuse to do that. It was definitely a thing, whether it was food related or class and socially related. But I don't know, and not to say even and by any stretches are we like out of the woods of the pandemic either, but I think just like people's comfort in being out more has increased. So it's sort of like it was just not on the ball. So that is sort of my conclusion on that one. I think I was wrong.
Yeah. And that's
but
okay.
But my saving grace is how unbelievably spot on I was about the return of roller skating. And not only that, but actually, as I was following it through this year and reflecting, that I didn't realize there's actually so much more to this, that like roller skating and roller skating culture, than I realized. So this is also just I'm proud of being right, but also of having my eyes opened to everything I didn't know about roller skating, because I forced myself to pay attention. First of all, so you can just take sales of roller skates this year as just like right off the bat. I think it was like even starting in February, like things were starting to rev up quite substantially. But this summer was like the summer of skating. We've got different accounts blowing up on social media for all of their skating tricks and dances. For the first time since the 40s, Rockefeller Center in New York City opened a roller rink. Is just not even to say that I haven't found anything in particular about roller rinks and like roller establishments writ large getting back under construction, but in terms of the activity itself, definitely. But beyond this, what I also learned is that even several years back, it was really interesting because I found this article from the New York Times from this year about rollerblading and roller skating and its resurgence. But then also in the course of it, discovered an article from 2018 about the vibrant Black culture of skating. And at that time, it was about the bleakest period for roller skating that there has been. Learning about the history of skating rinks and its most direct ties to, you guessed it, racism, but also music, and how roller rinks and again, this is just me going down the rabbit hole and specifically having so much interest in the documentary film United Skates, which you can actually stream right now on HBO. I checked. And learning about how the roller rinks were a place of community and safety, but also rising hip hop and R&B musicians and Black music, and it was just like the most beautiful thing. And I hope that this is a positive direction of that not just, more widespread recognition of the value of roller skating, but also maybe a glimmer of hope in a pretty, what was previously a pretty bleak outlook on the survival of roller skating. So there you go.
Also, Stranger Things, it got in the most recent season, got some prominence there, which the kids love mimicking Stranger Things.
For sure. Apparently there is a scene of isn't it like Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie in the upcoming Barbie film where they're riding some
I think it's
neon inlines
blading
in Barbie. Yeah. Roller blading in the Barbie film. So yeah, I really hope it's here to stay for all of these reasons.
I will tell you right now, I believe that when Beyonce finally announces the tour, I'm not going to explain what album it's for, because if you don't, get out. Goodbye.
We're done with you.
The second that Cuff It plays, I'm expecting disco balls and roller skates, and I'm expecting we need more of it. Also,
you've seen the music video. Okay, go ahead.
No. I just to connect a couple dots from our conversation. Usher did this weird thing on New Year's where he Usher, as he is heretofore known, had his he basically did Cisco blonde hair, and I'm like, what are you doing? But during his performance during the New Year's Eve, he also had roller skating dancers, and I was like, all right, it's here. Jess was beyond right. She is rung in the new year with Usher's
I can tell you,
Whale Tail.
Tying Aaron's stabilizing of housing and property markets may actually play an influence on whether spaces show up, because I'd mentioned last year I live in the same building as the self-proclaimed roller disco queen of New York, Lola Starr.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked to her through the year about how she was struggling in the upticked market to get places to agree for her to allow her to use spaces for her roller disco, because they were trying to push exorbitant prices or wanted to try and use the spaces where they were still getting money for other things. And now that things have normalized, maybe that sort of event or third space type of place for roller skating might be able to come back.
Ooh.
We can hope. I want that for our world.
See,
it only can bring joy. That's how I see it.
Nailed it.
Joey?
So my prognogs, and I won't go into the sub prognogs for the first one because I can't remember all of them. Jess might be able to say them, but the big thing that I had mentioned last year was I was feeling like we were approaching the crash of the crypto bubble based on it, I don't know, intuition, seeing different things happening, paying attention as an outsider to how things were moving. And oh girl, did she crash?
Burned,
popped.
My goodness.
I mean,
Can a bubble go down in flames? Is that something that you could do?
Can you pop a bubble with dynamite, with a thermonuclear weapon? I mean, it's not all gone, and who knows whether cryptocurrency and blockchain and some of the broader technologies will find new life in different use cases. That wasn't what it was about, but it was about sort of the line always goes up, diamond hands type of vibes within it, gonna come crashing down. It seemed like people were sort of producing vaporware. The first big event of the year was Do Kwon and Luna/Terra crashing in, the stable coin, the thing that is supposed to stay stable, just not staying stable. And then, we've had Sam Bankman-Fried scandal and FTX. I mean, that has been everywhere. If you haven't run into it, you are lucky. Congratulations. I apologize if you're listening to it now and I've ruined it for you. But there have been a bunch of others, right? The sort of amount of grift and like play money approach to some of these things has come back to bite a lot of people, and not everyone who entered into it were bad faith actors, and those people also lost their money. So we feel bad for them, but it seemed inevitable. There was a recent federal charges brought against someone, I believe his name is Avraham Eisenberg, who is being accused of market manipulation and crashing an entire exchange based on, he said they didn't have rules explicitly against it, and the SEC was like, no, we do. Like, no, we have rules against that. So that bubble popped. I think I am correct. If you just go look at the index or the market caps of almost all of the coins, but even Bitcoin has plummeted significantly, and so we can check that one off. The second one was I think, to your point, Jess, in being able to sort of hit these prognogs, like the specificity that of our measurability in the way that we put these things out. I had said that there would be a rise in gap year, in the idea of the gap year and the presence of the gap year. I think, based on some scanning of articles through the years, I think as a concept, it has reemerged more broadly in culture. I have like Wall Street Journal, U.S. News and World Reports, a bunch of PR Newswire articles, articles across like mainstream press this year about the gap year. There's some data that looks like the number of folks taking gap years has tripled. College enrollment has declined to the number of people coming out of high school. And there's a bunch of data that shows that high school students also are increasingly considering the gap year, though maybe aren't taking it. So I'd say it's, I said the rise, like it certainly has risen. I don't know, it might be in that sort of like micro trend realm right now and not a macro trend. And so I think it is true-ish. I will say maybe it could be like continuing to grow over the coming year. We could always do a check back on it, but even going from annually typically like 40,000 people taking a gap year to now 130,000 folks that have documented the fact that they're taking a gap year this year certainly is an increase.
You just right, Joey. I don't know what to. I like how you can't. When you're right, you're right.
Yeah. Look,
and
what is there even to say?
No, I was thinking as you were getting into this about the nature of right-ish and on it-esque. And admittedly, I suppose that right and wrong are binary states, whatever. But you were, I at the same time, I reject that, and I want to underscore that you were very right when it came to that crypto burst.
Joey, how does it feel? How does it feel to be very right?
We all have crosses to bear, and for me, it is the fact that I'm just right a lot, and people don't like that. And in some ways, the reasons why I'm consistently awful is because I'm consistently right.
Man.
Wow.
I've had 2 good years in a row. I think if we went back like 3 years ago, I think I had a pretty bad one. So
good for you.
You know what it is also? It's how I feel like the best wild prognostication must both be a perfect cocktail of very right and very wild.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe that is also where the risk-taking, Aaron, that you and I embarked on. We were aiming for wild with our specificity, but maybe, I don't know, I'm wondering if y'all have takeaways about how next year's progs, what we've learned about these progs, right or wrong. and how that will shift our strategy for next year's?
It's a little bit funny. I think
this prognog inside.
I have a different relationship with rightness and wrongness that informs the way that I will continue to prognosticate. There's already a word for that. And that is, I find value in dreaming about what could possibly be. And that exercise in and of itself is the win for me. It's never the score of like, was I right or was I wrong? It's more so like, what could I imagine? And although I tend to stick with what do I imagine that's going to be horrible and make the world a worse place to some degree, anxiety, I find that dreaming about what the future could be should be something that I want to do more often throughout the year. So actually it has nothing to do. So I'm sorry, that's kind of a dodge and maybe like a weird way to think about it for me, but like I'm gonna keep my dreaming pants on all the time. I'm gonna sleep in them.
Pants.
My low-rise dreaming pants.
I want to see your dreaming pants one. Actually, scratch that. I've seen a photo of you from Branch of you in your dreaming pants.
Yes, yes.
And your dreaming snuggie.
Yes. It's true.
Because your dreams need to be insulated and warm.
A dreaming snuggie is the antithesis of the dreaming pants.
Wait, what? Qual?
He had both on.
Oh, yeah. Just to clarify, yes, I had both. There's a lot of dreaming attire, and one of our 7 snuggies. I'm literally looking at 2 of them in the closet. Yeah, they're helpful to have.
Dreaming capsule wardrobe.
Indeed.
I would say like my approach to prognogs and what I'll need to do over the next week is like I tend to think about it spatially, like in these like curves and lines, like a trend line, like which ones that have been going up do I think are going to like normalize and come down, or which ones that are just like inching like up a little bit do I think are gonna like spike up. And even in the way that I spoke about my prognostications last year, right? Like a crash or a rise, like I wasn't thinking about it explicitly in this way last year, but I'm realizing like if I went back to the year before too, like it may also signal like similar ways of thinking about this that I wasn't actively aware of.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? Like having a prognostication based on something that you can see, and then it's really just a matter of acceleration or deceleration. So that makes sense. And in some ways is why the wildness of out of nowhere, not out of nowhere, but as if from nowhere, rollerblading. But not. And then what you discover is it's actually not out of nowhere. And then you just happen to take a wild guess. So
yeah, I mean, bringing it back full circle to what you spoke about, or what we all spoke about last year, is Aaron predicts things that he's afraid of and is trying to like stave off. You predict things that you really want to happen, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. And then I am just being like, what does the data show? It's not actually even what does the data show.
This
it's like
may happen.
What is Joey? What is
trends?
Like Joey machine crunching that I am not actively aware of, that I can somehow like just stare at my own brain for a while and be like, I think this. Like
right.
It's
whereas
truly
other
just
pundits
trying to like tap into my own intuition or something.
Yeah. Pundits and think tanks are doing the same thing, and you're just like, I bet it's this.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a trend of this. Yeah, we all have our approach, and maybe there's nothing broke, because being right, wrong, or right-ish is kind of fine either way. It's not really the point. The point is to be wild and froggy.
We have a week to now set our
Get it
set our
together.
vision for the future. And based on how, without going into any of it, my first week that I explained to Jess before this call started of how my first week of the new year has gone, I need a big change. I need
You shake it up.
a positive upswing. So I'll try to be
Dream
more
big.
optimistic in my
Put your dreaming
prognogs.
pants on. Put your dreaming pants and your snuggie on.
Oh, I gotta get Aaron's dreaming pants and snuggie on.
Well, you get your own. Okay.
I want to borrow.
Okay, till next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Critical Nonsense is a Sylvain production.
Brought to you by Rolling into the New Year.
No. As always, we'd like to thank our executive producer and punster-in-chief, Jess Vander.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. And I'd also like to thank sound engineer and the sparkly inspiration of all of this nonsense, Alex Contel.
We'd like to thank programming coordinator and New Year, no need for a new hymn because he's the best, Les Jacobs.
And our production crew and always dreaming pants. Sorry, Gilbert and Nora Mestridge. Thank you.
And as always, thanks, Alen.
Thanks, Ellen.
Special thanks to Dreaming Pants.
Yeah, absolutely. What is sort of, I think one could misconstrue dreaming pants as pajama pants, but they would be mistaken because it's actually it's a mindset. And you know what I'd also like to thank is confidence pants and the pair of confidence pants that I think I retired at some point, but indeed I did have a specific pair of confidence pants, and they were jeans. They may have even been low-rise jeans.
But they're just like, I put these on, I'm ready to roll. You're
In the
just
same way that your dreaming pants are for dreaming, your confidence pants are for confidence. You just pull them up, and it's like, okay.
Not even metaphorical. None of these are metaphors. Dreaming pants
No.
are real things, and confidence pants are real things, and
Yes,
they're the pants you put on when you need those things.
right. It's sort of thematic fashion, if you
Special
will.
thanks to pants.
Yeah, well, actually, veto. Hate pants. Pants are horrible.
What is the preference?
Just something
No
that
bottoms
isn't-
or like a
that isn't
skirt
so
or like shorts?
constricting. It's like pants are the gloves of the legs. It's just so much confinement. What about
Maybe
dresses
you
and
do need to bring back
skirts and-
gaucho pants.
Wow, I just as much breathability.
Tight on the top, loose everywhere else. Flowing.
That's my style. That is my preference because that's
right.
where you get your confidence and your dreams and your energy from.
2023, the year of the gaucho. We already made Jess
No,
Vander
no,
specific
don't put it in my mouth.
prognostications.
Withhold. Do we have to think anything else but pants?
I mean,
No.
I'm always coming back to just like, hey, should we thank the James Webb Space Telescope again? Because, God, it's like
Because
the
it
hits,
just keeps on
that are
giving.
cranking out.
The gift that it is.
Special thanks to those asteroid slamming satellites because they. I was listening to something from a new paper that came out recently that they had like a 70x or 60x impact from what they were predicting with that asteroid slam. Like, great. Armageddon.
Wow.
Bye.
Basically, we really approve of a great investment.
Yeah.
So thanks, science, and thank you, listeners. We encourage you to send in all of your wild prognostications in case we decide to steal one of them for our own next week. So just
We will give
think
credit.
on it. Yeah.
Jess
okay.
could not steal your idea.
Yeah, we'll just steal it. We'll just take it, and we won't
Like-
tell you.
Truly incapable. All right.
This is-
Special. We are thankful.
We're done. Special thanks
Happy New Year.
closed. Bye.
Love you. Bye. Critical Nonsense is a Sylvain production.
Wait, no, I haven't figured out what I'm going to say yet.
Oh, you said okay.
Ew, that was misleading of me.
I said okay, but I didn't mean okay. Like, do you know anything about me?
Okay, go.